Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. It's your Premier League preview. It's Mourinho, it's Klopp, it's Pep, it's Ollie, it's Emery and it's all the rest. Brendan Rodgers, let's not forget about him. Massive weekend. We're back after the international break and it's about to get very interesting as well. Not only will we be looking at this weekend, we'll be looking at that run towards Christmas and the New Year. It's relentless now. There's Champions League, there's Europa League, there's Carabao Cup, but there's lots and lots of Premier League football. And I think by Christmas Day, we're going to have a really good idea of not only, who's going to be winning the title. I think that still will be Liverpool, but I think the top four race, if you're Spurs, if you're United, if you're Arsenal, if you've got any aspirations of top four, you've got to close that gap by Christmas because 10 points going into the New Year is a hell of a lot. But the first game of the weekend is Mourinho versus Pellegrini. It's Spurs versus West Ham. It's West Ham versus Spurs. It's at West Ham. And I think it's, again, we're getting into that time now, aren't we, where I think if West Ham West Ham are doing what West Ham do. They beat United, they had a decent start, and now they're knocking on the relegation door. Mourinho, obviously, difficult first game. You don't see him losing that first game. I don't know whether he's going to win. We'll talk about that. But Klopp as well. I've just listened to his press conference talking about Pochettino, saying what a great manager he is, saying he was surprised, but then he wasn't surprised because that's football, but he'll be back. Welcoming Mourinho back. I just think we're in for a very, very interesting few weeks. There's some really good games to come. You've got Chelsea, Man City. That's the highlight of the weekend. You've got the first game for Mourinho. You've got United going to Sheffield United. You've got Arsenal, who if you're an Arsenal fan, just a very, very quiet time for you. The headlines have gone to Spurs, obviously. United are always box office. And what's Arsenal's season for the rest of the season? What are they going to do with Emery? It looks like they're going to stick with him stubbornly, but much like United will with Solskjaer. So is there an opportunity there for Spurs to take advantage? When you look at the league table, and I don't propose to get it up on the screen or anything like that, but the interesting thing when you look at Spurs is that this is the opening game of the weekend. It's the 12:30 kickoff. It's our watch along. Make sure you join me live at 12:30 tomorrow. Spurs are on 14 points. West Ham are on 13 points. And Watford, third from bottom, on 8. So that's not really the issue. From West Ham in 16th place on 13 points to Sheffield United in 5th on 17 points. That's 4 points separating 5th to 16th. So West Ham get a result against Spurs, they're going to fly up the table. Spurs get a result against West Ham, they're going to fly up the table. So that's the gauntlet for them to run. I think that West Ham, having seen them a few times this season, I just don't think they're good enough. I think West Ham are a mid-table team, and I think Spurs are a top 4 team that's just gone in. It was right to get rid of Pochettino. I've said that before. I like Pochettino, but it'd run its course. That team needed an injection of something, and it's got a Jose injection, and if he can bring a backbone, as I've said before, I think this is the perfect game for Spurs. Their first game under Mourinho, this is the first game for him. I think it's a perfect first game because it's the sort of game that Spurs have been struggling in, and if they can go there and defend well, and I think that's what Mourinho will. I can't wait to see the game tomorrow because I can't wait to see how tactically Spurs are different from Pochettino. I think Jose will go there, keep it tight. There's not a pressure to go and win. There is an expectation to go and win, but I actually think it will be a draw. I think that Spurs will keep it tight, and I'm going to go 1-1 in that game. And I don't think that will be a terrible result for Spurs to start off with. When you look at the other games, Arsenal against Southampton, that for Arsenal, this is an opportunity for Arsenal. When you look at the next few games for Arsenal, they've got Arsenal. They're not playing themselves. They've got. I bet they wish they could. They'd probably still lose. They've got Southampton at home, and then they've got. They'll be playing on a Sunday, which is December the 1st, and then they've got Norwich away, and then they've got Brighton at home. That for Arsenal, this is low key a real opportunity. While Spurs have got all the the publicity and it's quiet. There's 9 points for Arsenal there. There is 9 points for Arsenal there. Southampton, Norwich, and Brighton, 2 of which are at home. That's 9 points for Arsenal. And if they get 9 points, they're just going to be ticking away. And I think from Arsenal's point of view, I understand Mourinho, and they don't want Emery, and Mourinho is a threat at Spurs. But the point is with Arsenal, they should not be looking away from top 4. That's where they should be looking. I predicted Arsenal would get top 4. I think they've got the better squad stability, I thought. But I still think that that's 9 points for them. And if they don't get those 9 points, then I think Emery, the pressure is going to increase than what it is. And I think I was speaking to an Arsenal fan in the week, and they were like, I really want to get rid of Emery. And I said, look at your next 3 games. you're going to have to do what happened to us with Van Gaal and Mourinho a little bit. You know you want them out, but they go and get a couple of games that are really winnable, and they win, and you just sort of like, you just treading water really, because you've already made your decision that you want to get rid of him, but then there's games that they really should win, and you contrast that with what Spurs have got. I mean, they've got this hard game against West Ham, they've got United in a couple of games to come as well, and what have they got next week? Bournemouth at home, which could also be a bit of a banana skin, so we'll just have to see how it goes. But I predict Arsenal will beat Southampton, and I predict that to be 3-0. Bournemouth Wolves, I mean, interesting, they're both knocking around that sort of mid-table area where if you win you fly up the league, and if you lose you know you can be down near the bottom half again. Bournemouth against Wolves, I'm going to go for a draw. I think, you know, Wolves haven't played Europa League Thursday, they've had an international break, so both teams should be fresh. 1-1. Brighton Leicester's a very interesting 3 o'clock kickoff. Brighton were dreadful against United, but obviously they're not that bad because they've done okay this season. So again, it's another big test for Leicester. They beat Arsenal before the international break. They go away to Brighton. If they can go and win there again, and why wouldn't they, they're going to be very, very hard. This is the sort of game that Arsenal and United and Spurs will be thinking, can Brighton just stop Leicester winning? Can they stop that runaway train a bit in relation to the top 4? I don't think they will. I think Leicester will win 3-1. But if you have got aspirations of top 4 as a Spurs or an Arsenal or a United fan, Leicester have got to start dropping points soon. Crystal Palace against Liverpool is a 3 o'clock kickoff. Is it interesting? You know, there's some really good 3 o'clock kickoffs today and tomorrow on Saturday. And I think Crystal Palace Liverpool is always Cristanbul, isn't it? You know, the slippy G, the throwing away of the title. I predicted Liverpool are going to win this league anyway. So I predicted it before the start of the season. I don't want it to happen, but I think it will. And I think Liverpool, through everything they've been through, from Slippy G to Champions League finals that they've lost, to the Champions League finals that they've won, to the title race they lost, to a title that I think they will win. I think they've learnt from these mistakes, and I don't see them going to Palace and getting anything other than a win. Man City will be hoping otherwise, especially with them playing at 5:30. But I think Manchester City will go into that game against Chelsea 12 points behind Liverpool, and that psychologically could be an opening for Chelsea. But before we get to that, Everton against Norwich. I mean, Norwich are terrible. Everton are good at home. You've got to go for an Everton win 2-0. Watford against Burnley. I actually think Watford have been a bit unlucky this season. They're still adrift from safety, and this is the sort of game they need 3 points in. So I'm going to go Watford to beat Burnley 2-1. Which brings us on to Manchester City versus Chelsea, and what a massive game this is as well. The pick of the weekend, really. But maybe Mourinho has sort of overshadowed it a little bit, but it's still a big game. I mean, the fact remains that Chelsea are ahead of Manchester City. They're a point ahead of them. Something's got to give. I think if Chelsea could get a point or even a win, that's it. Liverpool have won the title. I don't think Chelsea or Leicester can be in a title race, and that would be too big a gap. Man City can't afford to slip up again. I think they will at some point. Do I think they will slip up against Chelsea? I think Man City played very, very well against Liverpool, but defended badly. And I think that Man City are still, on their day, their best football team in the Premier League. They went to Anfield and they carved them open time and time again. But defensively, they're very, very poor, which means Chelsea have got a chance. So I think this will be tighter than people think. I can see it being a lot of goals. I can see it being 3-2 to Manchester City. But don't expect Chelsea not to definitely get a result. They could do. You know, this again could be things to do with VAR, a bad referee, an injury. You know, it could be something like that. Man City this season have dropped points because defensively they've been poor. So, you know, I think Man City will win, but you never know. Sheffield United against Manchester United. Obviously, I've done my preview for this on the United stand. If you haven't seen it, I went for a Manchester United win. I do just think United are going to get a bit of momentum. Much the same as I think Arsenal will win 3 games in a row. I think United are going to get a bit of momentum, which is totally unfair on Sheffield United. The Premier League does not lie, and as we look at the Premier League table, Sheffield United are 5th on 17 points, and United are currently 7th on 16 points. Only a point behind Arsenal and Sheffield United. So it's a big game for Manchester United to win. United should not be lower than 6th. Sheffield United are current incumbents of the 5th place position. United, you know, draw, Sheffield United stay above us. United win, they go above them. So I think that United will win. I just think United's front 3 is a problem for any team, and I think that the defence is actually quite strong. So I think United will win that game. But I totally understand why people would say not. I just feel that United are about to go on a decent run, and I think we're going to win quite a few games between now and Christmas. And then Aston Villa versus Newcastle on Monday Night Football. And this is a game that at the moment you would say, well, maybe it's not about relegation because, you know, Villa and Newcastle are not that close. Having said that, Villa are fourth from bottom, 3 points away from Watford and the relegation zone. Newcastle are actually quite comfortably on 15 points. They're doing all right at the moment. They're 7 points from safety. So this is a game that Villa need to win on Monday night. They definitely do need to win, especially if Watford are going to win. So Watford, I don't know. I think I'm going to go for a draw in this. Monday Night Football, you could just see it being 1-1 in that, and I think I'm going to go with that. But it's very interesting when you look at the Premier League table, how it might work over the next few weeks. I mean, as I said, Chelsea and Leicester, second and third. I think Man City will go past them, and it will be Chelsea and Leicester fighting for third and fourth. And that is the interesting gap. 26 points for Chelsea, 26 points for Leicester. You've got Arsenal on 17, you've got United on 16, and you've got Spurs on 14. 12 points off fourth place effectively for Spurs, 10 for United and 9 for Arsenal. And you know, Arsenal I think will take 9 points from the next 3 games. So how much of an indentation will that make on Leicester? Well, Leicester have got Everton at home after Brighton away, and then they've got Watford at home. So you'd expect them to be taking points there. Then they've got Villa, Norwich themselves. So it's looking good. I mean, Leicester's next tough game really is Man City away just before Christmas. They've got a good run of games there. So, and then when you look at what Chelsea have got, I mean, Chelsea obviously have got Man City at the weekend. That is tough. But Leicester have got a good run of fixtures. Chelsea got Man City, then they've got Villa at home, Everton away, and then they've got Bournemouth at home and Spurs away before Christmas. So I don't actually, if I'm absolutely honest, I don't actually see a massive amount of points for Leicester and Chelsea to drop before now and Christmas, which means Arsenal, Spurs and United have got to go and win 5 out of the next 6 to even be within about 6 points of fourth place. That is the nature, that is the challenge for Arsenal, United and Spurs. 10 points is a lot of points, and for Spurs it's 12 points. I know it's 9 for Arsenal for top 4. So they've got to go on good runs, and Leicester have got fixtures that they can win, and Chelsea have got fixtures that they can win. So if Arsenal and United and Spurs want to close that gap, they've got to go on ridiculously good runs. And let's not forget, we've got that great game between Spurs and United to come very, very soon. So smash a like on the video, get your comments in below. What are your thoughts on the weekend, the top 4 race? I think I do feel that the title is 1 game away from being done, and I do think Liverpool will win it anyway. But I think the race for top 4 is, you know, it's sad, but I think that the race for top 4 is going to be the interesting thing, and how consistently good can Chelsea and Leicester remain, and can Arsenal, United or Spurs find some consistency to close what is a very, very big gap. Thanks everyone for watching. It's Spurs versus West Ham watch along tomorrow lunchtime on this channel. I will see you for that, and thanks everyone for watching. Speak to you soon.